All right, guys, this is Chris with Drop Dice. Today I wanted to make a video talking to you about the Copper Jackals again, but this time I wanted to do a little bit more in-depth video about how you can be involved in the Copper Jackals and the world of Dragongrin. So first off, before we get too far, I've included some links inside the description, one of which is our Facebook group. The other one is Tabletop Terrors, where you're going to be able to watch the upcoming officially hosted by Tabletop Terrors campaign, the Besieged. And then lastly, the link to the Dragongrin wiki. And I'll kind of talk about each one of those as we go, but they are in the comment section below if you want to kind of get a jump start and have those open while I'm talking to you guys. So let's talk about what Dragongrin started as and where it's kind of evolved, because I think that's important to know real quick. So there are online campaigns like the Provokers and the Winds of Sorceline, and I know both those GMs are super great about getting input from their viewers as stuff like the Q&As. They do videos and they get feedback directly from those videos, and then they kind of use that to evolve their game. Now, Tim and James from Tabletop Terrors decided to take it a little bit differently. Instead, they decided to set up a world and create the basic skeleton of it and invite everyone to play in it, besides just the big official campaign, if you will, or the Besieged as we're called right now. And essentially, that's why the Facebook group exists, is so that you can come in here. And originally, it was going to be set up to where they developed the campaign setting and kind of just people were playing inside of it. But it became a lot of questions from people, and the questions they asked were actually very valid questions. Like I'm guilty of one of them. I asked about, how many moons does the planet have, because to me that was important for the adventure that I was writing. It sounds like a silly question, but I wanted to have the moons be important to this adventure. So I threw it out there, and I know that other people asked all sorts of other questions like, hey, is there a city that's like this, and where is it located, and things like that. Because of that, the guys decided to do a world event called the Dichotomy. Essentially, what it is we're going to, for the first season, if you will, of the Copper Jackals, we're basically brainstorming as a large group, and what we're doing is I can write some Copper Jackal games, Tim and James can write Copper Jackal games, and then any of the other members can write some Copper Jackal games. And the stuff that's considered generally good in Tim and James' eyes, because they're the final arbitrators on this one, they're going to kind of I shouldn't say good, because like any sort of activity is good, but the things that they think are something that they really want to take on board, they're going to approve those, make those canon, and carry on. And basically, the way I look at it is it's not alternate universes, because that's what I was originally kind of scared of, was this idea that it was going to be alternate universe theory. And I've seen enough of Marvel butchering that and DC like making that into a huge giant mess that I was very reserved from getting involved once they started doing that. And I'm an admin, and I'll be honest with you guys, it was daunting when that first came up. And then I talked to Tim and James, and they kind of reassured me about how they wanted to do it. So this is how I'm thinking about it. So if you're a Copper Jackal and you're feeling reserved because you were hoping for canon answers and things like that, maybe this will kind of change your mind on how you're thinking of it. Instead of thinking of it as alternate universes, the way that I'm thinking of it now is these are stories. Like I'm playing the Bard Malakar or Arco, and the way I'm picturing it is these are the stories that the bards are telling within the Copper Jackals to maybe new recruits. And until we come up with official canon answers, these are just lores, folklore, tall tales, and things like that the bards are telling these new recruits. So, if you have an adventure where your characters during their minting session are hunting giants on the sea with whales in the background as like their mounts and stuff like that. And if somebody runs that game, let me know, because I want to watch it if I can't play it. But yeah, like whale riding, giant hunting, sea adventures. And let's say that Tim and James don't take that on board, that there isn't a whale riding unit of the Copper Jackals, then it's folklore. It's a tall tale. It happened long ago, and nobody knows exactly where or when. And if we do an adventure, like let's say, I set up the city Fairport, which I've been really slow about adding to the wiki, but let's say I build Fairport and you go, hey, I like Fairport, but what if this was to happen? Or maybe I have the basic skeleton of what the city is according to the wiki and the guy who made it, but I want to tweak it a little bit. Totally fine. Again, the way I'm thinking of it is like these are the stories that the bards are telling. So hopefully that kind of reassures some of our members that are a little bit restraining themselves from getting too involved because of this dichotomy event. Now the cool thing that I did like is basically what this means is this is essentially a collaborative brainstorming. And I went to school for art, and so for me, collaborative work, it's kind of cool because what you can do is I can create something like, let's say, Fairport, and then I can leave it alone once it's created, and someone else can come in there and play with it and make changes. And if like me, as the creator, see that you take the game and you're like, well, what if the city, instead of having their thieves guild set up like this, we change it a little bit and we go like this. If I like that as the creator, I may just tell you, hey, that's awesome, I'm going to change the wiki, and I want that to be part of what I'm envisioning Fairport to be. I think that the person who writes the wiki entry initially is going to have a lot of say in kind of what their city's about, because that's been kind of a question here. But at the same time, don't think that you can't change things or you can't mold things, because it is a collaborative work. So definitely, if you see like a city like Fairport once it's actually finished, or let me give you one that is finished here. Let's see, Clay Hill. Clay Hill is actually an entry that's been finished, and I know that there are people that have thought about playing inside there, but maybe they were concerned about possibly like twisting the story of the city of Clay Hill. The way I think about it is also, it's kind of like if you play like Pathfinder Galorian, there's the lore that's out there, but that doesn't mean you can't necessarily change it. Like if I don't name a lot of super important people unless I want to have them have a story. So if I just say the mayor, and you play your game and he's Mayor Paul, and my game he's Mayor Joe, that doesn't really matter to me because he doesn't have a story. However, if there's a person who's written up and has a story, and you want to maybe apply that story to your game, what I'd first suggest is you read their entry, see what they're about and what their story is. And if you have any questions, talk to the person that wrote it, because if you look at the wiki, whenever anything gets added, it should tell you who wrote it. Let me check here. It does not inside here. Let me see if it's inside the discussion. No, it doesn't. If you go to view history, it does tell you who did the edits, and ideally we should know who each other are on the wiki. Which I may add that to our roster list just so people know who each other are. But essentially, the whole point is to create an adventure world that is rich and deep and full of lore. And during this brainstorming process, we're kind of killing two birds with one stone. We're establishing a world that's very rich and deep, and we're also establishing lore. Like I said, some of this stuff may just be legend and may not necessarily be true. So hopefully that kind of sets your mind at ease if you were kind of a person that was on the fence because of that aspect. Or if you're new to Copper Jackals and this interests you, go ahead and join us. Again, the Facebook link is inside the description below. The reason I made this video is I'm an admin of the group, and I like the stuff that we're doing. And I know that me personally, I had to take a step back for a minute to just kind of assess what was going on before I necessarily jumped right back in. And I feel like that's a natural reaction for everybody. Now, what I'd like to encourage you to do if you're already a member is, go ahead and start putting out some of that stuff. If you have a crazy idea for a campaign, somebody mentioned a werewolf themed Copper Jackal game, which I'm not sure if that means that all the Copper Jackals are werewolves or you're hunting werewolves. But either way, if you want to do something kind of strange and kind of weird, throw it in there. Worst that'll happen is you'll play a game, have a great time, and we'll turn it into like legend lore if it isn't official canon. And so everything that you do does matter. Don't think that your game won't matter or won't become part of canon and it isn't official. That's ultimately what I'm getting at, is to a degree all of it is official. So definitely when you get a chance, play the games, add to the wiki, evolve the story that we're building together. Now, I didn't talk to Tim and James before making this video because this is my opinion on the group as your admin. Now, if you guys have any questions, Tim and James are a great person to ask, but you could also inbox me. I know a lot of the stuff that they do as well, and I can help you out with just about anything. Because I know part of the reason that we went down this path is at one point they had like 72 messages inside their mailbox asking questions about the world and things like that. And in fact, I wouldn't even suggest going to an inbox with private messages. What I would suggest instead, because of the way the world's working, is actually just go to the discussion board, put up, hey, I'm interested to know about, let's say, Grin. Is there a city that fits like this? I had this idea in my brain. First off, I'm going to tell you as an admin, yes, there's a city that fits like that. Tell me about it. Because ultimately, we want to grow the world. And if you guys looked at the map recently, there are almost no cities. In fact, there are no cities other than one that has been placed tentatively on the map for now. And, you know, it doesn't make sense to ask, is there already a city that's established when there aren't any other cities established? Just build it, have fun with it, make it something. And the best part about a medieval world is, you know, if you build a city and it's in the middle of nowhere and it doesn't even get mapped, it's not a big deal because that's realistic. That's what happens in medieval-like worlds. So, I mean, totally fine. Make up worlds, make up cities, make up, like, different legends and things like that. Like in my game, I've got a legend that's super important to the adventure, and you know, if it doesn't become lore in the world, it's, like I said, just rumor. It's a legend. It's a story told. And now that I'm playing a bard, it got my gears thinking that this is how I should look at it, not as an alternate universe thing, but as like bards spinning a tale. And hopefully that kind of clears it up for you guys as well. And once you post something and you say, hey, this is the kind of city that I'm interested in, what do you guys think? Feel free to take the suggestions from the crowd, because ultimately that's what we're doing, is we're brainstorming, we're coming up with something. And if you don't want to take the suggestions from the crowd and you just want to make your city on your own and have some fun with it, totally fine too. You know, make your city, throw it down inside the wiki, and you know, run a game inside of it. If you make it for like one of your characters, you know, show people what you liked about building that city. And ultimately, the group is about having fun and doing kind of a high octane style D&D adventure game. So have fun with it, and you know, don't feel restricted to the idea of canon, because canon is what we are making right now. All right, guys, this video has gone on a little bit longer than I had hoped. This is Chris from Drop Dice, just saying, you know, come over, join us with the Copper Jackals, and get involved where you can. As always, I'd like to thank everybody for subscribing to the channel. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. We are up to 157 subscribers to the channel, which is awesome. When I started the channel a couple months back, it was really just for my enjoyment, and I've been building up momentum in this great support group. And so if you decide to start filming yourself, let me know, and I'll make sure and include you with some good contacts that'll give you that support that I think really helps out with this community. I mean, this community has been 1,000 times better than what I could have expected out of it. Another person that I'd like to point out to you guys is a friend of mine, Mike the Piper. He's going to start his channel pretty soon. We're going to talk about his stuff in another video once he goes live. But if you guys want to get a jump start on it, go ahead and check out Mike the Piper and get subscribed to his channel and get ready for some good content. He's a really good GM. He's been featured on Dawn Forgecast if you want to check him out. And he's generally a good guy. So check his stuff out. As always, guys, I will see you guys at the gaming table, and thanks for tuning in.